Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. So, I'm going to do a reading today. In that last reading that I did, I started off talking about that portally energy that I had been feeling, and then the whole reading got kind of like redirected into acknowledging and congratulating all of the really deep work, the deep shadow work that a lot of us have been doing. To whatever degree we've been doing it, and just an indicator, strong indicator that that has really turned the wheel and shifted things because we got the world card, and there was this message of this like up leveling to this whole other level. Okay, so that was like the entire reading, and since then, I think it's been like 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know, a week and a half. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that next level, and it's just been like so crazy and like kind of like crazy to wrap the head around, like where I was almost like, well, I'm just never gonna do a reading again because I don't have words anymore, and then I had somebody for a personal reading, and it was the same kind of energy coming through, and I started like being able to decode it and talk about it a little bit, where what I'm noticing in my life is that almost that like dreams coming true type of energy, where things that I've been waiting for a really really long time are starting to come to fruition, and little things like even like little tiny things, like my cat has like scratched up like all my furniture, she scratches on everything and everything. My cat before her taught her that, and I was just so dysregulated and in like such survival mode that like it never occurred to me to get like a cat scratcher, so all my furs are scratched up. So my daughter, brought this like little thing you put on the floor, and we've been just like gently encouraging my cat, and just like in the last couple days she's been using it and she chooses it first, and that's just like such a fabulous manifestation, even though it's something small, because literally like for years I've been like, oh no, don't scratch on that, and all the rugs and everything is all scratched up, but so that landing, all these other things landing, my daughter's having this experience where, just this morning, like she's really into like contortionism and like stretching, and she's able to like bend in these like crazy ways, and just today she's like, I've been wanting this my whole life, and I'm like, there it is again, and so my son is coming to stay with me. He's coming to stay with me for tomorrow. He's coming. He's staying for several nights, and it's the first time in 6 years that we're having this sort of like reunion in my home after healing all the trauma. And so that's landing right now, and all these things, just some examples where long awaited things. So I'm also noticing like closure type of things happening. Like I had this experience. I won't go into details about it, but just closure things, or even seeing. I saw an ex partner that we were together for 5.5 years, and it was just like a beautiful, like really high vibe, like fun, free healing type of connection that just kind of it ran its course, and I hadn't seen him in years, and I saw him this weekend, and it was just so beautiful, and he's engaged, and you just kind of that like full circle type of energy where it's like you're like crossing with your past and like seeing it reformed, and so all these beautiful things. It just feels like miracle after miracle on really mundane levels, but also deeper levels too. I've been hearing some really miraculous stories from people about things that they're experiencing, and the message that I've been getting from that is just it's kind of like beyond our wildest dreams, beyond our wildest dreams. Now that we've up leveled and we're done with like phase one of the mission, which was to clear away the dross, and of course some people are still doing that, but again, like I've been saying, the energies in all these readings, the energies right now are so supportive. It's not going to be as hard for them as it was for those of us that have been doing this for a couple decades, or many decades for some of you, where the energy in the realm was so dense that it was really hard. It's just easier now. It's faster. There's enough light lit, enough torches lit in those dark places to be able to find your way, because that telepathic network is really strong. You can feel others in there with you doing it, instead of being like, like just a couple people, and it feels like so solidly dark. Those of us that went first to light the way, making it easier for the others. But things really moving forward right now. And in the reading that I did, the last personal reading that I did, there was a strong message of trusting yourself and trusting those messages that are coming in, and those knowings, and trusting yourself to find the answers for your path as well, because the veils are off, and we have an access now that we didn't have before, whereas before maybe we needed to do a lot of meditation, or do a lot of study, or do a lot of trials, or do a lot of whatever it was. Again, the energy is supportive in that way too, where our DNA is activating, so our memories are coming back online, our channel is opening up and being purified in these energies, and our bodies are healing and reviving and renewing. And so I've been hearing some really amazing miracle stories about the body and healing. And so, and just that reminder of like those sort of like far out like dreams and wishes and desires that you had your whole life. This is the time where they're going to start landing. It's definitely the time where we can come back to believing in them fearlessly, because a lot of times, we have a dream or we have a desire, and it's not that because we're receiving it from our soul. It's like part of our life path and part of our mission, part of what we're anchoring here and what we're bringing forward in service to others. But then on the way to that, we have to do all this cleanup, and there's all this weird karmic stuff that happens, and you can give up on your knowing and your vision and on your dreams, which come from the soul. They're more like guidance than dreams, but they present like dreams and desires. That's how our soul communicates with us. And so we can give up on them or be pessimistic, but it's like the floodgates are off, where we're coming back to those dreams and seeing that the time is now. The time is now for a lot of us, and it's coming soon for others. So that's my little recap of the energies of my week and what I've been feeling. So let's move into the cards if you want to hang in there for a reading. Oh, that's so funny. So Coyote Spirit, I was going to say that coyote medicine where you think you're going one way and you think it's a straight path, but no, it's like a decade-long path of going like this, right? And you're moving all around and it looks like you're crazy, but then in the end, it's like, wow, trust in those divine detours, because they are taking you where you feel you're going, where you want to go, where you're guided to go. They are taking you there, so that's really funny that card came up. I was literally just going to say that. Okay, so let's do some tarot and see what else. Okay, the 10. Okay, the 10 of air, the 10 of swords is a card of extreme suffering. In the traditional tarot, he has the 10 swords in his back, and he's, that's it. It's the nail in the coffin. It's like there's nowhere left to go but over the cliff. There's nowhere left to go but into those deep feelings. It's that Gandanta point that in Vedic astrology, where fire and water, they don't go well together. We don't know what to do with them, and yet somehow it happens. Somehow there's an alchemy, a transmutation that happens, and that's how this is. You don't know what to do. You don't know how you're going to do this. You're up against a wall. You just surrender. You give up, and all of a sudden you're out on the other side. So it's a real threshold energy. It's a breakthrough energy. It's a portal energy, and that's what I'm feeling. Is it's a rebirth energy. We're in the rebirth. We've gone through the trials. We've given up because we're like, I don't know. I'm not in control here. I have no idea what's going on. You surrender, and then everything becomes light as a feather, and all of a sudden, it's like those little viewfinders. I've used this analogy before, when you're a kid, if you're as old as I am, and you have the thing and you chick, and then the real change is it's like that. All of a sudden, everything is different because you're different. You've gone through that alchemy, and your energetic signature is different because you've cleared out those patterns in that alchemy. You've risen in vibration, and all of a sudden, everything changes. Your whole hologram changes. New people start coming, and that's what happened for me. One of the things that is finally landing for me is I've had fascia issues for a long time. So I had a really rough patch for 20 years, and a lot of like contraction, a lot of like just being under the radar and being criticized and being, and then actually one of the things that happened with my son. So my son is coming for the stretch, and I got summoned to jury duty. And I was like, oh my God, I got summoned to jury duty the exact week he's coming, in this, but I was like, I know this means something. I know I'm not a victim of anything. And even though it seems like the biggest drag in the world, like I know it's happening for a reason. And so I wrote in and I just told them my situation, and I asked for an excusal, but I only had a week in advance, because I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know I was just going to like willy-nilly get, you got to come this day, and so anyway, so I didn't hear back. I have to go in tomorrow, and I still hadn't heard back. And so I wrote in again this morning and was like, hey, just checking in, wondering, does this mean I have to come in and stuff like that? And so then I was driving this morning, and I was processing with my daughter, and I was like, I know there's some reason for this. And then I was like, oh my God, it's the courts again. So I was court ordered. I lost custody of my kids in court. I was court ordered like when I was able to see them and what I was able to have control over, which was nothing. He had sole legal custody with medical and education. So I had I was told by the man what I could do with my own fucking children, and so that was part of a lot, some of those trials. I had many different trials over the last 20 years, but that was part of it. And so, so anyway, I'm trying to remember to breathe, and I'll get to that in a minute. But when I breathe, I kind of lose my thought because the channel comes so fast. Anyway, it's just a new skill. I'm trying to learn how to breathe. But that's part of the fascia as well, is my ribs have been, everything is so constricted, so it's hard to even get a really good breath. And so I'm going to get back to that other story, but I finally found somebody who's helping me with my fascia. And so he's been encouraging me to breathe. He was encouraging me to do those deep belly breaths. And just remember to do that. And he's like, you have so much to say, and it all comes from your heart, just remembering to settle into those deep breaths. So I just remember that because I became aware that I was talking really fast again. But this court thing, so again, it was such this perfect setup that now when my son is coming, and he wasn't really enjoying coming here because it had all the trauma of the past. And he's a Cancer, he's super sensitive, and he's really identified with his home, and this home was traumatic. It's where there was just a lot that went down. And so he's, we've been slowly repairing that, spending time here, and now he's staying over, and we're having this whole vacation. And then there's this court thing where it's I have to ask somebody, I have to ask the judge if I can please not do the thing they told me I have to do so I could spend time with my son. And I saw the pattern, and I was like, oh my God, there it is again. And I just knew that it was going to be released, because that was the thing. It's oh, there's the block, and I see the block, and I feel the emotions, and then I get to see, and it's different this time. So as soon as I got home from where I was going and I was processing with my daughter, there was an email, and they were like, you've been excused, and it was just this perfect divine setup. So I got to relive those feelings. So there's that full circle thing again, things coming up from the past, but being different, and clearing those things away. So anyway, but that manifestation with the fascia and with the healing, and so I've been really putting it out there and wanting for the last year and a half. And even before that, I was trying to heal my fascia, but it's it wasn't time. It's okay, you're going to try to heal it, but you're still in contraction. Your body still doesn't know that it's safe yet, and now just the energetics, just the, so that one day I was talking about the plasma that I was feeling in the air and in my body, and I'm still feeling that, it's it's woven into the fabric of our reality now. We're swimming in plasma. It's all here, all the codes, all the access is here. And so our cells and our subconscious is getting the message that we're safe. So it's just a wonderful time to be able to release those things from the past, like me with the court and the trauma. It was like a witch trial, it went on for years and years. It went on for 4 years. It was just insane. And so having that come back around, but it's no, it's just different, it comes and then it's washed away and then it's gone forever, and I think that will probably happen for my son as well. He might have a little bit of, a trigger perhaps, but it's a completely different context. So it's just washing it away so that those traumas aren't held deep within us anymore. And they are able to be washed away right now. They are, and our bodies knowing that we're safe. And so releasing the fascia and releasing the tension and releasing on the cellular level. And what I learned from a sister of mine who did deep training with fascia was that it's connected to the memory and to the Akash. And the trauma, it holds them. It's like water. It holds the memory, and when the water can't flow, it gets tight and it's restricted and constricted. So everything flowing now. So I feel like I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit with that, but that's okay. I'm just gonna move on. Oh, now being the time when you reach that threshold point, and there it is. Yeah, and you start manifesting in, attracting in different things. So there's collaboration. So I just did a reading for somebody, and then I just mentioned my fascia, and he was like, "Oh, have you ever had anybody release it?" And I'm like, "I can't find anybody." And he's like, "I do it," and we get along so well, and we have so much in common, and so it was just this perfect match. And even the way he was doing it, he also did energy work. So that was another thing. I've been waiting years and years and years to find somebody who can kind of do for me what I do for other people, and having the visions and making the connections. And so I got to experience that in that same session. And then I had also been wanting somebody to literally just hypnotize my body and tell it it's safe, hypnotize my subconscious. And in the beginning, he was just, off the cuff, just intuitively doing that. So, It's like put in your order, and that's what I'm feeling in these energies. It's like put in your order because things are we've cleared out, we've gone through this Gandanta point, we've made this jump. Individually but also collectively, so again it's really important that the collective energy has done this, not not all of it, but enough of a quotient. It's like the light quotient. It's always been about reaching a certain percentage of people that tip the scales, and it doesn't take that many because just a few even people in alignment really structures the rest, because when you're connected to truth, it has a way more powerful frequency and transmission and vibration than if you're in fragmentation. It's just fragmentation has no momentum. You have to keep reviving it. You have to keep hustling, and you have to keep trying and manipulating and whatevering and resuscitating. Whereas if you're connected to all that is, then you are all that is, and there's it's infinite because all that is infinite, and so you have that infinite creation as well, because when you surrender, and this is the surrender, this is the Gandanta point, and the coyote medicine is needed to get you to throw up your hands and be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. You know what? I don't know anything. I have all these crazy dreams and visions, but I certainly don't know how it's all going to go down. But the crazy dreams and visions are actually real and accurate, and they come from your soul. And so now that all of that is out of the way and you've had that surrender, you've fallen back into the truth of reality, and that's where you get your powers back. Because when you become nothing, right? When you surrender and you come into that, I don't know anything, I don't know who I am, then you can merge with all that is, and then you have access to everything because you are everything, because you're one with everything, and then you're co-creating. You have your co-creative powers back. The separation has always been to distract us and deter us from having our powers of creating our own reality, so that they didn't want that, because some beings have to siphon off of us. They have to siphon off of us, as a lot of us know, in order to survive, because again, they're not connected to all that is. They think that they're separate, and again, when you're separate, you have to try, you have to manipulate, you have to steal, you have to resuscitate, you have to keep working at it and working at it. Part of how they were working at it was siphoning from those of us that did have that connection. Even if it was veiled and covered, we had that connection. We had never turned away from God or from ourselves. We were longing for it and wanting it. We couldn't find it because we were a pretzel, but it was still encoded with us. And so having that energy siphoned off. So again, I've been talking a lot about sealing off those energy leaks and becoming conscious of where we're leaking our energy, paying too much attention. It's important to see into the fourth dimension and to see those trapping systems and to see the agendas, but there's also a trap in there where you can get hooked and you just keep looking and sometimes people even like identify, like their identity can be like, I know things, I know what's going on, and it's great to know what's going on in the world, but then to kind of have that be your identity, and then you kind of stay in the gathering of information and sharing that information, which again has its place, because it's important to know so that you can know what you're up against, so that you can really take seriously that alchemy within yourself and turning within and collapsing those programs within. You only really need to see a little bit of the program to know, oh fuck, I want out. And then you focus on getting out, and getting out is just not playing anymore, not feeding it anymore, and coming home to yourself and finding that wholeness, where you can, it's like drama, it's like a soap opera. You can just keep looking at it and being entertained, and oh my God, and all these things, right? You keep looking and all the rabbit holes and going down and down and down, where really it's about getting the message to pull it back and to pull out and to become sovereign, so that you're not feeding those systems. Once you know there are systems feeding off of you, you don't have to know about all of them. It just takes away from the time of you pulling back your energy, noticing your energy leaks, noticing how you're wording things, knowing that your words have power. What you state, you are. What you state is happening. You're putting your energy to, and you're helping to align with that potential. So being conscious with your words, being conscious with your focus, being conscious with how you're treating yourself and others, and tending to your vibration. And and I was thinking about it, how some people don't go into nature, like people in cities or people with really busy lives. And I would die if I didn't go into nature. I would die if I didn't have trees right outside my window, or if I couldn't go put my feet on the earth in the morning and sit in the sun and spend a whole day in the forest once a week. And it's like, it's just, I was just thinking about that, how it's like, until we really get the message that we have to take action with our focus and with our activities, to make sure that we can maintain and stay in, again, like that graduation energy that was coming up in that last reading where we had the world card, and it was like we graduated, we did it, and then just having the vigilance. I mean, we had to have the vigilance to kind of like graduate and survive all of the trials and this kind of stuff, but to maintain that frequency, to maintain that that level, that consciousness, that unity, that wholeness, and preserving it, so I kind of feel like I'm in a little bit of vigil right now, where I'm it's like I just don't want to take my eye off it. I don't want to take my eye off of the goodness, the energy that I'm feeling, the motion that I'm in, and that's where I can feel like I don't have words for it. Like it's like when I tune into the energy, like my mind just collapses, and that's part of it. It's like a heart space, and it's the quantum space, and the mind isn't there. It's just not there. It's ineffable. It's ineffable. I haven't said that word in a really long time. It's ineffable. It's truly ineffable. Let's see what this card is. The Queen of Pentacles. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Okay, that's the exact energy that I'm feeling right now. The Queen of Pentacles, she's on the earth, but she's in her own energy, and that's what I'm feeling. That's so funny, that's that card. Like I'm on the earth, there's the trees, there's the magic that's unfolding, like I was at, we had a blues fest this weekend in our community, and there was so much magic that happened where it was like, it was just crazy. It was crazy, everything that was happening, like where just you could see the symphony of people, because we kept running into different people. You could see the symphony of colors and codes and like timing, and it's like too much to describe, but it's like literally the symphony, or like the gears of the clock, and you could just watch and be like, whoa, divine timing, like code, like synchronicity, like patterns, and just watching it. It was really cool to do that in a setting with a lot of people, where it was like just this like fishbowl of to observe the magic that's going on right now. And so I really got to see how heightened everything is, and like you think something and then it happens. Like my daughter felt kind of sick from the food, because it's like festival food and stuff like that, and it wasn't that great, and she felt kind of sick, and she was like, I think I need to throw up. And so my friend was like, do you want a bag? And she went up to like ask around somebody for a bag. There was literally somebody coming to the trash can to throw out a bag, and she was like, can I have that? That was just like one example, like millions of those examples, and throughout the whole day. So just seeing that symphony on the earth, and not just in like, the astral space where you're getting downloads and the things that you do, with people, with thoughts, or with energy, or with telepathy. It was very much on the earth, and that's the Queen of Pentacles, on the earth plane, where you're seeing it playing out. It's that heaven on earth energy where everybody's in sync, and that was the other thing that was happening, like where one person would have a need and another person would have a need, and they would be separate needs, but they would be guiding them in the same direction, and then these things would like move out of the way. It was literally, I'm not describing it well because I don't feel like going into all the details, because who cares, but it was literally like cosmic musical chairs where everybody's needs were effortlessly being met. So there's that like dropping the mind thing again, where you don't have to, well, I need this, and so I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna make this happen. Again, that like where you have to sustain yourself, and you have to make, like go after, what you want and what you're trying to get, because you feel that you're separate, and that's how it works when you're separate. But when you're unified, it happens for you. You just surrender, and it happens for you, because it is you, and you are it. And so it's just being in the flow. It's like that, was it Hopi, where it was like being in the river and seeing who's in there with you. You've surrendered, you're in the river, and seeing who's in there with you. So a lot of people starting to live in that energy and in that flow and in that surrender in the garden, and just seeing who's there with you. And also that kind of and that's sort of like also what can happen too, where you don't. So I posted something recently, and it was like, you don't have to cut people out, just grow. They'll fall off naturally. So, just continuing on your journey and staying in your own lane, and everything rearranging and getting to that point where that flow and that surrender is possible. So that's what these cards are really saying, going through the trials, having that surrender, and then being in this energy, this new earth energy, where you're not in your head and you're not trying to make things happen because you don't have to anymore, because you've come back into unity. They're happening for you. And it's very new. It can be kind of hard to surrender, but not really, not really. And that's what was so great at being in such a large event like that, with a lot of people and a lot of activity. And it was kind of exhausting. It was like 2 full days of it. Like I couldn't sleep because I was just like, blah, blah, blah. And then we were having those X flares as well, right? The X flare and the M8 flare. And so a lot of solar activity. Let me breathe. God. Yeah, it feels so good to breathe. It feels so good to breathe. And that's part of this new energy as well. You know, there was so much constriction and so much like go, 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 go to get it done in a way. And I don't know, maybe not everyone's like that. I'm a Capricorn, and I'm not a Capricorn and like climb the corporate ladder. I'm like climb the DNA ladder, you know, where I'm like, let's go. Like my friend that was doing the fascia, he's like, do you ever take a break? And I was like, no. And he was like, I go in spurts, you know, I do this and then I throw peanut butter for the dog, you know, or whatever he said, but I'm a little bit go, 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 go. But anyway, yeah, and so that's that, you know, like doing this and getting it all done, right? And then coming into more of this spaciousness where it's like, because what I would find is I would go, and it wasn't like, it was my soul choice. It wasn't like I was like whipping it, you know, I was like begging for a break, my human. But, you know, it would be like a trial, and then I'd just sort of like stabilize for a little while and get a little breather, and then there'd be another trial, and stabilize and breathe, and it would be like sometimes only like 2 weeks in between. It was just like, Jesus Christ, like you literally couldn't catch your breath. And now it's like, it's just not like that anymore. You know, you can breathe, you can remember to breathe. And it's like reminding my fascia, you can relax, and like reminding the body you can sleep. You know, you don't have to like clench your jaw all night long and grind your teeth, you know, you can relax, it's safe now, and so there's been a real message of safety. I'm just going on and on. Yeah, a real message of safety coming through as well, because it is in the energy, in the fabric, and getting that message and being guided to situations that help us to feel that way as well. Like I think when my son comes, it's going to heal something really deep in him, you know, some cellular healing through what we're experiencing around safety. That's what it feels like to me. So there's the integration card. There it is, bringing all those fragmented pieces back home with the Temperance card. The Temperance card is also like a victory. You've had some sort of victory in the psychic, spiritual, energetic realm, and that's us. You know, that's all of us, and that's that ineffable energy. Check that out. That's how it feels to me. It's just like that. Like there are no words. You don't need words. There's like a code in that. That's how it feels. It's just the energy. The energy feels continuous. It feels whole. It feels complete. And there's transmissions of creation off of that co-creation. And everything, again, the symphony, we're part of it, and we're taking action, but the action comes naturally. It comes from the heart. It comes from inspiration. It's not coming from the mind. It's not coming from the plan or manipulation. It's flowing. It's action. You know, like me when I wrote to the judge, that's what I thought, oh, I'll just do this. You know, it came as an inspiration, and it helped things move and flow. And so I was talking the other time about my water and how I've been programming my water and talking to my water and connecting with the water. So now I'm asking the water to help me flow, to help me remember how to flow, and tuning into that quality of the water where if there's a block, it moves around it, you know, or goes under it, or it goes over it, or it slowly wears it down over time, but it keeps moving. It doesn't sit down, oh, I can't, you know. And so it's almost like, you know, for a while there when we were in coyote medicine and we were like, and our egos were trying to be in control, and we had to surrender. We had to surrender to something higher. We had to surrender to the divine will. It was kind of like, well, I don't know, so whatever's in the highest good, you know. But now it's kind of like, now that we're in this garden and we're part of the symphony and we're back in the wholeness, we can trust ourselves and we can trust our desires and our creations, because they're united. They're united with all that is. They're united with the divine will. So our will is divine will. So we can wield that. You know, it's like when you bring your polarities intact and you're in that 0 point field and you have your masculine and your feminine and you are that God fractal, you are part of that co-creation of I posted this thing today, and it said something, I just have to share this. It said something like, why are you still single? And then it was like me on the first date, and she was like talking like the, and I just saw myself out of the corner of my eye, and I looked exactly like her, and I was like, oh my God. Anyway, it just made me laugh. Yeah, but anyway, being that, oh shit, it's gonna trip me up. I'm gonna let go out. Being that God fractal, and then you are part of that co-creation. You're part of that symphony, and you can flow, and you can allow things, and you can you can act on your inspiration. You can take action rather than just kind of like surrendering and like, well, whatever's in the highest good, and kind of like laying down for a little while. That kind of like, I don't know anything, like that was part of the journey. But it's switching now where it's like our desires are important and our wants are important, and speaking up and taking action. And it's that masculine energy as well, where for a while there the masculine was rogue and he was trying to control and he was hustling and he was doing it for the wrong reasons. The masculine in all of us, right? And just like trying to survive and trying to take care of things. And but now that he's united again, the masculine and the feminine united with that intuition, which is connected to all that is, that's back together, where you're taking action on well, for a while, you know, you had to cut out that rogue masculine. Just be like, shut up and sit down and learn how to listen. You know, learn how to listen, learn how to follow the higher, connect with the higher, learn how to do that. But once we've done that, and especially with this, where you just surrender and you're in that flow and you have all your pieces back together, then you're coming back to that listening. You're coming back to your desires, because you can trust your desires. Once you surrender, you can trust your desires again. You don't have to question, you know, because for a while, wasn't it like, you know, well, I don't know, am I wanting this from the right place? And maybe this is, you know, it's just that I don't know place. I don't know, because nothing I'm going for is working out, right? Okay, so the game kind of changing in that way. It's changing, okay? We've graduated. We're on a different level, and so the rules are different. The rules are different, and the way we play it is different. So it's like tuning into your heart, and tuning into your intuition, and tuning into what the next move is, while staying connected to all that is. And we can only do that through our hearts. If we're in our minds, and somebody said the most beautiful thing I had it's like most of some of you are watching on YouTube, but most of you are watching on Facebook, and so you're like already a community. We're already a community, so we're already engaging. So that's why I talk about that a lot, because it's like the same consciousness, the same people. But so I had posted something about like, can you trust your intuition and not do research? Can you not do the research, but just trust what your intuition is saying, because you know it and you trust it, and you know that you're safe and you're one with all that is and all that. It's like that kind of energy I was talking about. And he wrote in and said, or they wrote in and said, as soon as your mind comes in, your intuition gets blocked. And I was just like, yes, exactly, right? It's really about that surrendering and the flow. And the intuition is water, it's the feminine, and it's flow. So, and it's new, you know, it's new. So it takes some focus. That's what I was talking about, that kind of visual with this card, where I felt like all I wanted to do was focus on that energy, because it's so gorgeous, and I finally made it here. And it's like, I don't want to fall into that old energy, but literally I can't. It's like, it's almost like my body has some sort of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's ineffable again, but it's like I'm locked into this energy. I'm locked onto it. And I can't get off of it, and I don't want to get off of it, but it looks like I'm like, oh, I don't want to turn away from it, because I don't want to lose it. But really what it is I'm like so merged with it, I can't turn away from it. You know, it's like I'm merging, I'm blending with it, you know, unifying. But the reverence, it's intimacy. It's an intimacy with this energy, where it's like, it's becoming your lover. You know, you're so merged with it, you're alchemizing with it, you're becoming with it, and you can't it's the honeymoon period, you know, but then after the honeymoon period, you're just merged, and it's like all your neural pathways are aligned with that, you know, and so it's kind of like that. That's kind of how I'm feeling the energy right now. Okay, let's see what else. The Ace of Wands. So this is my higher timeline card. This is sort of that activation energy, the co-creating with spirit. There it is again, but encapsulated. Everything I just said encapsulated into one card. Just where you're on that upper level, you've reached that level, you're co-creating with spirit. And that's it. You know, you made it. You're merged with it. Just, again, all those cards combined in one. So, okay, that completes that row. I'm going to go under the row. It's 33 minutes. I might try to keep this a little bit shorter, or I might not, because people just turn off when they're done. They're like, okay, that's all I needed to hear, you know. And for those of you that want to hang around, if I end up doing it longer, then there's more, you know. Okay. Breathing and experience Persephone. Exactly. So this new energy that we're in is very new. We're new on it. It's also interesting with Persephone, because Persephone has done her time under here, and so she, you know, when she came out, she had something. You know, she had her experience. She had her experience in the underworld. But I really do feel, and that is relevant because that is how we got here. But there is an energy. I feel like this word in experience, the youthfulness, God, that kind of reminds me of my daughter. Just those eyes. Um, yeah, and she has spent a lot of time in the hell realm. It's really interesting. There's a lot of transmissions with this artist. She's really good. It's the same artist and the same artist, Colette Baron Reed, I think is her name. So the animal deck, the goddess deck, and then the good tarot. But there's just she really captures stuff. She transmits through her art. Yeah. Anyway, inexperience and because this path is very, very new. But speaking of that, it's interesting that I brought that up because I felt like a little bit of a tangent. One of the things that I've been realizing recently is part of this new path and what we're doing is that everything that we do in the physical, we're bringing our codes in, because now that we have them and we have this wholeness, we transmit them. We transmit them just like she does in the art. We're doing that through art or through dance. Like we were dancing down at the Blues Fest, and I knew, because I had just gone through this huge shift. I had gone through all the things that I've been talking about and that a lot of us have been going through. And Friday, right before the festival, it started on Saturday, I got hit by that wave. Remember, a lot of us felt that. And then 2 days later, there was an X flare, and they were saying, there were certain people saying like, oh yeah, some of us have been feeling this the last couple of days, so that's what we were feeling. But they were also like, we were on like our 6th or 7th or 8th day of solar winds through the coronal hole. So breathing. So yeah, and so so I got hit really hard on Friday, but when I breathe, I lose my flow. It's okay. I'll figure it out. I'm in process. I'm learning, I'm learning. We're learning this new way. It's a little clunky. It's okay. It's okay. We haven't done this before. We haven't done this ever before like this, where we're completely surrendering after being really, really hijacked and in the dark and then confused and separated, coming back after separation. I've said this before. We've been in unity before. We know unity. We don't know what it's like to be on that threshold again. Where was the threshold? The threshold energy of coming out of separation back into unity and somehow feeling safe in doing that. But anyway, so lots of conversations about that and the newness and the things that are new and how to do that. But part of how we're doing that is realizing that we're anchoring our codes, and we're anchoring this integration, and we're anchoring this heaven energy that we're tapping into on the physical. So I'm Taurus rising, and one of the things that I learned a long time ago through a shamanic astrology reading is that the importance of, and so when we have certain things in our astrology, it's like we're coded with it, so we understand it, right? Like whatever our north node is, we really understand that, and so the Taurus energy, I really understand, it's also my south node, so I really understand that from that way as well, because I've been doing it for a really long time, the pitfalls of it, but a lot of it is the Taurian energy is planting those high, the 6, it's the 6 energies. How I see the 6s as well, which this is a 6, the 4 and the 2 is a 6, where you're bringing that higher energy down. Now, of course, you can get lost in materialism, which is the negative side of Taurus, and we're out of Taurus season now. Yeah, we're in Gemini now, but we just did about in Taurus. A lot of Taurus birthdays recently, and so you can have that that overemphasis on the material, but the exalted expression of Taurus is bringing the higher, bringing your integration down and planting it on the earth, which is what the Queen of Pentacles is really, really good at. That's how she's coming through today with this card. So anyway, with the festival, with the dance, it was like, bringing those codes down and dancing them. And when I dance, I'm really, really free. Like it's just me and the music and God. And, there's no thought, there's no try. Sometimes it's hard to dance to blues because it's just like two-stepping, so I had to wait for the right bands. But even that, we found a way to just sway and to just like move with it, because the blues you can, but then, it was really cool because there was a woman that came up to us. There were 3 of us, my daughter and my friend and I, and this is the friend that I had posted the photos of with the rose. There were so many rose Magdalene synchronicities in the I'm wearing it again, in the colors that we were wearing, without even knowing we were wearing those colors, and matching up with other people and other times we had a similar experience with the colors and the codes and the rose and the Magdalene and this like soul tribe and all of us coming together. But anyway, so we were dancing, and this woman was singing about water, and she was this gorgeous woman, and she was singing about water, and speaking of the codes, there were so many codes in her voice, in her presence, in her words. And so it was like the divine feminine energy raining down on us. And all of a sudden we all started just moving, moving like water. And we were like, something's happening, like we're embodying the water. We're merging with her song. We're merging with the goddess. We're dressed like roses, it was so, so powerful. And later somebody came up to us and was like, you guys are so beautiful. You looked like angels. And we were like, gosh, I just got chills. Like, we are angels. We have these codes that we brought down from having to reach and bring all our pieces back together while we were in the depth of hell, remembering that spark, and now planting those codes on the earth in service and for the community. And so anyways, whether it's through dance or through art or through speech or through whatever it is, there's really, really powerful codes coming through what we're doing right now. And it's true for any of us that have come into unity. You have codes. And there was somebody else that I was, with the energy work, with the body work, the fascia work that I was doing yesterday, I could see his magic, and he was just channeling it through. He knew exactly what to do, because our higher selves, I saw it before I went, our higher selves were just like, ooh, let's go, divine timing. And it was like his codes coming through your energy work, coming through your whatever you're doing, and just knowing that and remembering that, and trusting yourself and trusting your own unity and your own contribution to the wholeness that we all are. And we're all so gorgeous and beautiful. And I've been having this experience where I'm watching these other people and just even, the fascia worker and, other people that I'm seeing and sisters, and being like, God, they're so beautiful and they're so special. And that's so wonderful, and then feeling a little bit like, am I okay? And having to remember, like, yes, we're all okay. And again, getting out of the mind and flowing and just letting it come through, being that vessel and letting it come through. And it was in the session yesterday where, that feeling of or when I do a reading and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and just jumping off the cliff and being that empty vessel, that hollow bone. And that's what he was saying. He kept being like, just be a hollow bone, just be a hollow bone and let it come through. And that reminder that we are enough. We're more than enough. Our superpowers that we're accessing now have just been waiting for us to get out of the way. We have gotten out of the way. We've had to go through a lot to get out of the way. And now we're like, oh shit, now I'm nobody. Now I don't have any identity. I don't have any format. I don't have any manual, and it's perfect. Yay, because you're co-creating with spirit, and it's your spirit coming through and guiding you, and just that beginner's mind and that innocence and that surrender and knowing that of course you're enough. Of course you're enough. It's the old energy. It's the old energy of separation that felt that you weren't, and just the glory and the freedom. And I think a lot of us are kind of on that threshold where you're, even if we've been, offering services or doing things and just been flowing, like I have for a while, bumping up against it again and being kind of because we've up leveled, and we have more of ourselves. So it's sort of what we were doing, was a smaller version of us. So it's can I let more of me in? And it's well, you have no choice. You're going to come through, because when you're surrendered, and you're just going to walk into your hologram and see yourself as different and see the symphony unfolding and see it guiding you. And it can be a little scary because it requires that ego death and that letting go. But the ego has already died. We've already done the unplugging. A lot of us, those of us, the way showers that are paving the way, right? And now we're paving the way in the creation. And again, being careful of our words and being careful of our focus and being careful of our, any of those old patterns that come out. Let's pull it a little bit more. Justice. Okay. Justice. Beautiful. So there's that card of balance where the scales are balanced. Interesting. Oh, okay. That's her hand. But it looked like there was water being poured into this scale, almost with my bad eyesight. It looked like there was this Trinity up here, and from the center Trinity. So but that's also the symbol of balance, where you again, you have the polarities intact, and from that third energy is what's created. So that's what I'm seeing here. And this third energy being poured into the scale, but it's not knocking off the scales, and that is the, let's see, that's her left, that's the left scale. So again, the intuition, you have that, it's pouring into your feminine polarity, but it's not knocking off the scales because you're in balance. So it's driving you forward. You have that fractal, that driving forward. So again, that symbol of flow, even though that's not what it is totally just her hand But that's how I'm seeing it. You probably can't see well either because it's through the camera. So that's how we're reading this today, because it very much fits what I'm saying, that flow is coming from that unity, that center point in the infinity sphere where you're flowing from, and you can trust it. You can trust it to guide you. The inexperience is not like, oh, we have to get experience with this. No, we're surrendered now. We're getting experience with flowing and allowing it to come through, and that will become more natural. But we're not getting experience in the way that we did before. You know, the world where you get all your trainings and you memorize your things, and then you do it, you do your protocol, and you've learned it, you have your doctorate, you have your skills. This is like an ever-present open heart where we're flowing in every moment. We're flowing our higher selves in every moment, and we never cap. Where like I've arrived, I got my credentials, and now I'm doing within the thing that I did. You know, it's like this ever flowing upgrade as we continue to evolve, and as that symphony, again, it's a co-creation. It's a co-creation with everyone else. So who are we with in this moment? What's the constellation of energies and people and events, and what's the constellation now, and what's the constellation now? And now maybe it's alone and just you and nature, but it's always changing, and we're always changing, and it's always flowing like water. So again, the water being really important now, and connecting with the water if you feel to. I'm finding so much assistance and so much consciousness enhancement with the water, because there's so many codes. So the more I lean into the water, the more I seem to, it's like what's the word? Like a quickening. I feel a quickening, and it's exponentially expanding me, because the power, it's like the power of again, 1 and 1 equals 3. 1 and 1 equals 3. That third energy, the co-creation with the water, the co-creation with nature, the co-creation with your intuition, with others. It's all about that unity and that co-creation and the flowing, because it's constantly changing. The constellation of what's organically in your sphere is constantly changing as you expand, which we are every day now, and flowing and more and more. And so there's that's the best way to describe the ineffable energy right there. I think we captured it. I'm going to do one last card, and then I'm going to stop there, because that's really gorgeous energy to land on. In my in-person readings, I usually ask the person, I wish I could ask you what, okay, I think I just asked, and like maybe somebody answered me. I'm going to do the Goddess of the Oracle deck for our closing message. Oracle of the Moon. Wisdom. 22. 22 is the master builder number, wisdom. So that's what we've gained and earned through all of our trials, and now we're building this, and we're doing it together. Again, there's a whole group of us. This is all of our experiences and our soul. Again, we're nothing and we're everything. When we realize we're nothing, we realize that we're everything. This is everything that we've standing on the shoulders of giants. We are those giants as well, because we're everything. We've climbed that ladder, and now we're template building. You know, we're leaning into our intuition, and we're creating the new earth. It's being created through us. Being created through us, through our surrender. So, okay, I think I'm going to stop there. That feels really complete, and I will take photos and post this in the comment section. If you're on YouTube and you would rather follow on Facebook, my name is Wendy Biondo, Biondo. And if anyone would like a personal reading, I do them in town. If you're in town at Mystic on Fridays and Saturdays, noon to 3. Although check in with me, because lately in the summer, like with my son coming and stuff like that, I'm sometimes not down there. And if you're online, I do FaceTime and also recorded readings that I send to you if you'd rather do it that way. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you want to. And thanks for listening and communing. So that's a lot of why I do these readings, is just to anchor the energy and to bring awareness and consciousness to these cutting edge energies, and to commune in that telepathic network, and to make it stronger, to make it more anchored, and to make it more viable for others, and putting our attention to it, and also that encouragement to really lean into those energies, because they're right here waiting for us. They're waiting for us to step into them and to engage with them. And you know, it's new, and sometimes we, like an old dog, you know, we fall back into what's comfortable, but it's becoming harder and harder to do that, because those old ways are just collapsing, and reforming. So the beautiful musical chairs. So enjoy this amazing, beautiful energy, and yeah, it's wonderful to share. I've been connecting with a lot of people and hearing really amazing magical energies, and just seeing that boundary being pushed, and how sky's the limit, and beyond our wildest dreams of things that we haven't even conceived of being possible being shown to us. So one of the readings was we ended on the unexpected, starting to see the unexpected now and having our minds blown. And so share your stories with others, and let's build this. Let's build the collective consciousness and knowing and experiencing that the impossible is possible, and more and more and more. So, okay, much love to you. I'll see you next time if I do. Bye bye.